Hello friends, in previous video part 3 we covered the questions up to 43. Now let us continue with the remaining questions in this part 4 video. Alright, so the question number 44, do you know mocking? Yes, it is a process of creating the me object, or it is a process of imitating a object. Generally when one component is dependent on the another component, if the dependent component is not ready, or if the not development is not completed for the dependent component, then we can create a mock object for that in order to complete the testing. So generally this mocking is required while we are performing unit testing, right? Next, 45. Question number 45. Could you please explain a scenario where you used mocking? So you can say scenarios like in my application I have a controller classes. So in order to perform the unit testing for a controller, I created mock objects for that so that I can test my controller components, or I can test my service components. So you can say one scenario where you used that mocking. Or else suppose one more scenario, you can say that my application wants to interact with one REST API, which is a third party API. So the third party API has some issues for last 1 week. The application is down from the third party company. So in order to complete the unit testing of my component, I need the third party API, but that is down. So instead of waiting for that third party API, I created a mock for that. Then I completed unit testing of my components. Like this, you can explain several reasons where you used mocking in your project. All right. Question number 46. How will you debug an issue in your production environment? This is also very important, right? So generally, as we discussed, project will contain several environments. So when we deploy the code in the higher environments like SIT or UAT or pilot or production, there is a chance of getting some bugs. In order to identify those bugs, generally we will use log files. So application is going to use the log files to write the behavior of the application. Using that log files, we can understand where exactly the issue is occurred, like which class, which method, and what is the line number, what is the root cause of the problem. Everything that we can get by using log files. So for this particular question, you can say that using log files, I can identify where exactly the issue is occurring. So this is one mechanism to debug issues in the higher environment. All right. Question number 46. What is logging? So logging is a fancy word to define process of writing down everything that you do. So generally when the application is executing, how which if methods are executed, which lines from where to where the control is flowing, or all the behavior of the project, you can log to a log file. That process is called logging, right? Next, tell me logging levels. So there are several levels like trace, debug, info, warn, error, and fatal. When you set the level as a debug, it is going to print all the messages from debug to higher environment. If you set the level as a error, it will print only error and fatals. So guys, if you don't know what is this logging and how to work with logging, already we have very nice video in our YouTube channel, Log4j tutorial. So go to my YouTube channel, that is Ashok IT School, and click on the Log4j playlist. Total 4 videos are there where I discussed about what is logging, how to work with logging, and how to perform log monitoring by using several tools like Putty and WinSCP. Right now, so question number 49. Which log level your project having in production? So you can say that my production environment will not be managed by the developers, so that is going to managed by a separate infrastructure team, or DevOps teams will be available. So you can say that a level name like info or one or error or fatal, that any level that is configured the production system. If you really want to know that, you can talk to your infra team. They will tell you which level they configured. Generally in the productions they will configure info level, not the debug level. They will configure info level or higher level than the info. All right. Next, question number 50. What is Putty and WinSCP? Here these are the tools that are used for log monitoring. So generally we will do the development of the project in Windows operating system, but the code will be deployed into higher environments, SIT, UAT, or production in the Linux operating system. And higher environment systems may not be available in the same location. Suppose I am working in Hyderabad, my UAT happening in the USA. That UAT system is deployed in the Linux machine. The logs are generating in the Linux machine, but I'm in the Hyderabad. So do I really need to go to US to check the log file? No. By using this putty and WinSCP tools, I can connect from my Windows machine to Linux machine, right? So putty, which is used to see the ongoing logs. If you want to download the complete log file from the Linux machine to your machine, then you can go for WinSCP. How to use this putty and WinSCP, I explained in our log4j video. So how log monitoring can done, you can watch this video so that you will get the clarity, right? So just you should have a basic idea what is putty and WinSCP. These are the open source tools that are used for log monitoring, or generally we can use these tools for connecting from Windows operating system to Linux operating system. Rest. Next, question number 51. Have you ever used Splunk? Yes, nowadays this is a very trending tool in the market for log monitoring and for log reporting. So you should say that yes, it is a log reporting tool that is I'm using in my project production environment. So if you observe, these three tools are for same purpose like that, right? Putty, WinSCP and Splunk. Putty and WinSCP are the open source tools where we can use from to connect from Windows to Linux. But Splunk is a commercial tool which is used for log monitoring. Suppose I want to get the logs for last 5 minutes, or I want to get the logs of the last Monday from morning 10 a.m. to 10:05 p.m. So if you want to get the specific period logs from the log files, then you can go for this Splunk tool, which is costly tool. So once in the company, they will use the Splunk tools for production logs mounting. So you will write some basic queries in the Splunk to get those logs based on the requirement. So again, in this log4j video, I discussed how can we logs monitoring using Splunk tool. Right here, you can understand by using this part 3 video, you can understand how we can use the Splunk tool in order to monitor the logs. Right. Next one. Question number 52. Have you ever handled exceptions in your project and how you handled? So this is a very basic thing for a developer, right? Whenever we are working in the project development, there is a chance of getting several exceptions in the project. So those things we should handle. So that is part of our daily life. So whenever project is executing, we may get several issues like null pointer exceptions, array index out of bound exceptions, or SQL exceptions, right? Instead of displaying the exceptions directly to the end user, we will convert that exception to a meaningful message like some problem occurred, please try again later. So sorry for inconvenience caused, please try after some time, or we are looking into your case, like that. We need to display some meaningful messages to the users. So how we can handle that exceptions? Spring provided a beautiful mechanism to handle the exceptions with a global exception handling mechanism or controller based handling mechanism. Again, sir, if you don't know how to handle the exceptions in the project, I'm saying that there is a video I uploaded for exception handling. Here you can see exception handling in the Spring, exception handling in the MVC flow, and exception handling in the REST API. Here I discuss about what is exception handling, how to create user defined exceptions, and how to handle exceptions in the MVC, how to handle the exceptions in the REST API. So please go through this video, then you will get crystal clear clarity about how to handle the exceptions in the project. All right. Next question. Question number 53. Very interesting question. That is, what is the complex situation you have faced in your current project and how you solved that situation? All right. Most of the people will get confused here. What I need to explain, how I need to convey the interviewer, like that, right? So you can explain a simple scenario like this. What I have done in my previous company. You can say that in my current project we are having so many batches which are going to execute in the night time. Those batches are used to perform the bulk operations like plans renewal or plans termination or renewal the plan for next year, or sending the notifications to the customer related to their eligibility. To perform these bulk operations, we are having so many batches. As the batches are executing in the night time, several batches are running on the GVMs, right? So my performance is taking execution is taking more time. Performance of the batches are very slow, but client is not happy with the behavior, and but we don't have proper infrastructure in order to do that. Then that is one of the complex situation I have faced, and I resolved this problem by using multi-threading, and I improved the performance of the batch execution. To tune the performance of the batch, we struggled almost a month to implement the parallel instances processing and all those things. Like that, you can explain one of the situation related to batch execution. Right. Next one. Question number 54. Uh, where you have used multi-threading in the project. As we discussed earlier, right? Batches are taking so much time and they are processing so many records in the database. In order to complete the batch processing quickly, we have used multi-threading in the project, like that. You can say that, and you can take an example. One of the batches there in my project, which is on daily basis, which is going to identify the records or which are going to identify the plans which are going to terminate in the next 10 days, and it is going to read all the customers data, and it is going to send the notifications to the customers in the PDF format, right? As it is processing the record one by one, to improve the performance, we implemented multi-threading in the project. So whenever you are explaining these situations, you should be able to write the code if at all he asks to write it. So like by implementing a callable interface, or using completable future objects which are held in the Java 8, or you can use executor services to work with the multi-threading in the project. So if they ask you what is multi-threading, you should tell why multi-threading and where exactly you have used in your project also. So you can tell one batch execution situation where we implemented multi-threading in the project. Next, question number 55. How batches are scheduled in your project? So as we discussed, so many batches are executing in the night time, right? So are we going to execute the batches manually by using Java commands and all? No. We are going to use some tools to schedule the batches. So here you can say, in our company we are using a commercial tool that is called opcon scheduler to schedule the batches, right? So one is a famous tool that is opcon scheduler, which is used to schedule the batches. Now next, question number 56. In my company we don't have license for opcon scheduler, then how you will run batches in the project? So this is again a tricky to check your technical skills and your expertise, right? So you told that you are working on the batches, you are using a tool to schedule the batches. Suppose if you want to work in a project where the batches are there but they don't have a license, or they don't have a money to purchase the license, then how can you schedule the batches? Here we can say that we can do the batch scheduling by using a third-party open source APIs like Quad API, which is a very famous API to schedule the tasks or to schedule the jobs on frequent times, like daily, at what time the batch has to execute, we can configure. And a Spring framework is also supporting for the scheduling of the tasks. So in the Spring we need to use two annotations like @enable scheduling and @scheduled annotations. For this scheduled annotation we can add the cron expression like at what time the job has to start, at what time the Java program has to start execution, daily night at 10 p.m. my program has to start, or daily every year on the January 1st my program has to start. So based on the requirement we can write cron expressions for @scheduled annotation. So we can schedule the jobs in the Spring also by using scheduled annotation with the help of enable scheduling annotation. These are the two annotations that can be used to schedule the batches. If you have a commercial tool license, then you can use it, or if you don't have that license, then you can go for open source APIs like Quartz, or we can take the help of Spring also to schedule the batches. Alright, thanks for watching this video. The remaining videos will be continued in part 5.